fight her if I knowed anything at all, but I start to fight her, and the driver, he comes in, grabs me and starts beating me with that cat o' nine tails. Beats me till I fall to the floor nearly dead. Cut my back all to pieces. Then they rub salt in the cuts for more punishment. Lord, Lord, honey, them was some awful days.
In most states, it was against the law for slaves to be educated. Slave children might play with their young masters and mistresses at home, but they could not go to school with them.
None of us was allowed to see a book or try to learn. They say we get smarter than they was if we learn anything. He slips around, gets a hold of that Webster's old blueback speller. We hides it till way in the night, and then we lights a little pine torch and studies that spelling book. We learn it too.
Oh, Lord, you better not be caught with a book in your hand. If you did, you were sold. Oh, no, now, they didn't allow that.
If you just looked like you wanted to learn to read or write, oh, you got a licking.
By the age of 12, most children were working in the fields. Only a very small number stayed on to become house servants. Slaves who worked in the house were almost always better fed and clothed than the field hands, but they lived under the constant scrutiny of their masters.
Mistress Miller, she used to make my Aunt Caroline knit all day. And when she gets so tired after dark that she gets sleepy, she'd make her stand up and knit. Mistress would work her so hard that she'd go to sleep standing up. And every time her head nod and her knees sag, that lady come down across her head with a switch. That's the way white folks was. Some had hearts. Some had gizzards instead of hearts.
My old missus, a rich old lady, a-dining over the...
More than 1/4 of the slave population lived on large plantations with 50 or more slaves, some with several hundred.
George, Eggleston, Robert, Wagoner.
Very few were highly skilled workers.
Magruder, blacksmith, Sam, carpenter, Dudley.
There was just two classes to the white folks. Bucra, slave owners, and poor white folk that didn't own no slaves. There was more classes amongst the slaves. The first class was the house servants. This was the butler, the maids, and the cooks. Then come the cradlers of the wheat, the threshers, and the millers of the corn and the wheat. The lowest class was the common field hand niggas.
Back in Alabama, Mr. Adelaide Carter took me when I was past my creeping days to live in the big house with the white folks. And they was always good to me because I was one of their blood. They never hit me a lick or slapped me once. And they told me that they would never sell me from them. My brother and sister, they lived with the niggas though, 'cause they was mostly nigger. My master used to give me a little money to buy what I wanted. I always bought fine clothes. Oh, when they bought the red shoes from the town, I cried and cried. I say, I don't want to wear no rawhide shoes. So they took them back. I guess they had a weakness for my crying. I drove a carriage, with the white folk. And I was about the most dudish nigger in these parts.
Once, two youngins goes down the hill to the dollhouse where Master Kilpatrick's children are playing. They want to go in the dollhouse. And one of the Kilpatrick boys says, "That's for white children." They say, "We ain't no niggers, because we got the same daddy you has. And he comes to see us near every day and fetches us clothes and things from town." They is fussing, and Missy Kilpatrick is listening out of her chamber window. She heard them white niggas say, "He is our daddy, and we call him daddy when he comes to our house to see our mama."
Many owners and overseers believed that sexual access to slave women was one of their prerogatives. The rape of black women also served to humiliate their husbands and undermine the integrity of slave families.
Lord, child, that was common. Masters and overseers used to make slaves that was with their husbands get up and do as they say. Send husbands out on the farm milking cows or cutting wood. Then he gets in bed with the slave himself. Some women would fight and tussle, others would be humble, feared of that beating. If they told their husband, he was powerless.
I was one slave that the poor white man had his match. These here old white men said, "What I can't do by fair means, I'll do by foul." One tried to throw me, but he couldn't. We tussled and knocked over chairs, and when I got a grip, I snatched his face all to pieces, and there was no more bothering Fanny from him. But oh, honey, some slaves would be so beat up when they resisted. And sometimes, if you rebel, the overseer'd kill you. Us colored women had to go through plenty, I tell you.
My mother's mistress had 3 boys. One 21, one 19, and one 17. Old mistress had gone away one day, and mother always worked in the house. While she was alone, the boys came in and threw her down on the floor and tied her down so she couldn't struggle. And one after the other used her as long as they wanted for the whole afternoon. Mother was sick when her mistress came home, and when old mistress wanted to know what was the matter with her, she told her what the boys had done. And she whipped them. And that's the way I came to be here.